You've made it to the final week of the semester. Congratulations on all your hard work. This week you're going to be drafting two different sections of your paper. The first is a presentation of findings, and the second will be your recommendations and your appendices. First, let's talk about the presentation of findings, what the purpose of this section is, and what components are required for your paper. It's always good to go back to the text, so I just wanted to point out that the presentation of findings will cover two of the chapters that you read in your text. The data analysis and interpretation were covered in Chapter 7, and writing, implementing, and sharing the research was covered in Chapter 8. For this section, we expect about 1 to 3 pages. Your presentation of findings must include graphs, charts, and/or tables that share the results of your study. Think about making the data really manageable for your readers. You've lived in this study, but your readers haven't, and so you'll want to be able to share the data in a way that makes it really easy for them to see what your findings were. Go back and check APA 7 format for how those graphs, charts, and tables need to be formatted, because there are very specific guidelines for them. Just like with all the other sections, you need to start with an introduction. Your introduction doesn't have to have its own heading. Your heading will be presentation of findings, but then you'll include a short paragraph or two of your of what you found out in the study. Be sure that you're only describing the findings and being real objective with it. You're not interpreting your findings yet or expressing any value judgments about them. And just like with all the other sections, you're going to include a short summary of what you found before you move on to the next section. For more guidance on how to do this exactly, go back into the course resources folder and look at the examples of previous studies that we've shared with you. In the next section, you're going to provide recommendations. The point of this section is just to kind of summarize what your research study was all about. Why was it important to the field of education? Now that you've completed the study and you've interpreted the data, what recommendations can you make for teachers moving forward? For this section, you're going to provide 4 specific recommendations based on your findings. Think back to the statement of the problem from the beginning of the semester. What was your problem statement? What were you trying to solve? Now, in this section for recommendations, you're showing teachers, other teachers, and yourself, what are your recommendations for solving the problem? Each recommendation should tie specifically back to either your literature review or the results of the study that you described in the previous section. In this section, just like all of the others, you're going to start with a short summary of your recommendations. Then you'll provide a numbered list of your recommendations with the recommendations specifically in italics. Directly after your recommendation, you'll explain each of them and how they connect to the literature or to your findings. Don't forget to include a conclusion paragraph. And this is a really good time for you to go back and look at the examples provided in Blackboard, because you'll see exactly what I mean by how you're going to set this section up. I want you to go back and look at your reference page, because as you finish up your paper, you're going to need to make sure that all of the references that you've included in your total paper are listed on your reference page. Don't forget to look back at course resources. That OWL at Purdue resource is something that most people in educational fields use to help them with their citations, and it gives you a lot of guidance on specifically what citations should look like and what they shouldn't look like. Also, when you are finishing up your paper, check your in-text citations against your reference page. Every time something is cited within the text with an in-text citation, it has to also be cited on the reference page, and every time it's on the reference page, it has to also be cited within the text. If you go through your revisions and you're drafting your paper for your final draft and you take out a resource that you decide that you don't want to use anymore, you also need to take it out of your reference page. The final component of your paper that you're also turning in this week is your appendix or your appendices. This goes in your paper after your reference page. It's not in the body of your paper. It's the last thing that you'll include. In your appendix, you want to include the specific questions, forms, tests, any artifacts that you use during data collection. Go back and look at the course resources and see the examples that other students have done so you know exactly what types of things need to be in the appendix. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to shoot me an email. Since this is our last week together officially, I wanted to take the time to remind you to look back at the feedback that you've received on your formative tasks so far. You'll want to make sure that you apply that feedback to your remaining formative tasks, but also to your summative final paper. Don't forget to also check Blackboard for your due date for when your final paper is due. And I wanted to take a minute to just tell you thank you for all your hard work during this semester. And if you need anything now or in the future, feel free to reach out to me because I'm here to support you even after you're done with this class.